Hey friends, Anime Analyzed here, back with the second installment of the Meaning of Music. This is the series where I break down my favorite soundtracks from anime. As you may have noticed, no subscribe joke today, because what we're going to talk about today is nothing to joke at. The topic of this video is the legendary soundtrack by Yoshihisa Hirano, Kingdom of Predators from the Hunter x Hunter anime. This is by far one of the greatest OSTs to have ever been created. Honestly, it plays the role of the perfect partner to the visual spectacle that is the Hunter x Hunter anime. And it is, in my opinion, a very important factor in the success of the Chimera Ant arc. And I cannot wait to talk about it today, so let's dive right in. I'm going to break this video up into two parts because there is a lot of groundwork to lay before we can fully understand what this piece is trying to tell us. To start things off, I have a very deep connection with this song on a more business level, if you will. I mean, yes, this soundtrack also has very deep emotional implications for me. It's honestly like an onion. I don't think I can listen to it without tearing up, but it has also had a huge effect on my creative endeavors. If you guys didn't know, I do some music mixing on the side, and actually the backtracks of all the videos I post are mixed by me. Check out my SoundCloud at SwissCheesyOfficial. My secret weapon to creating something hype is just having this OST play softly in the background. There are many times I've made mixes using Kingdom of Predators, and when I tell people after the fact that it is indeed playing in the background, they don't believe me. It has this amazing characteristic of both being able to steal the show on its own, but also hide away in the background and add immeasurable amounts of hype to any mix without making its presence known. It's kind of the perfect wingman if you think about it, and I cannot thank this song enough for saving me when I didn't have enough energy in my mixes. And of course, I put Kingdom of Predators in the backtrack of this video, so if you were unable to hear it at first, I rest my case. But this video isn't about my musical career, so let's talk about why this piece works so damn well. If I tried to single out one particular scene that comes to mind when I hear this soundtrack, I would definitely fail, because it plays during basically every important part of the Chimera Ant arc. It plays during Gyro's backstory. God, where did that man even go? It plays during Netaro's backstory, and it plays during the explanation of the poor man's rose, and it plays when Meruem asks Pito to heal Komugi. Extremely underrated scene, by the way. I mean, you get the point. This piece is inextricably linked to the happenings of the Ant arc, and unlike many other anime soundtracks, there isn't really a symbiotic relationship between this OST and the anime adaptation. Kingdom of Predators can very much stand on its own and be an amazing soundtrack no matter which show it is placed in. In fact, there is a whole subcategory of memes that uses this soundtrack to hypen up completely unrelated scenes in pop culture. It could literally play in the back of the Teletubbies and make that look like an action-filled extravaganza. On the other hand, there are some very important themes in Hunter x Hunter that are beautifully brought out by this soundtrack. Let's first start by discussing the idea of the variation on the theme. Variations on a theme is a very popular way that classical Western music is structured. You start by playing the basic melody, or the theme, and then you go on to play various variations of said theme. Kingdom of Predators turns this trope on its head. It acts as the theme, but instead of building off of this song, the storyline builds up to this song. I want to highlight three particular OSTs that act as variations to Kingdom of Predators: Elegy of the Dynast, Lamentoso in the Palace, and Restriction and Pledge. I will link these down below. And there is definitely a reason the anime chose to do things this way, but before we get into that, if you haven't heard these pieces, I would urge you to go listen to them and come back with your own thoughts on why this soundtrack works so well. It's easy to go online and let someone else's opinion on a topic influence the way you see things, but this particular soundtrack is one where you really want to go and develop your own understanding of the piece. Build a personal relationship with it, if you will. Everyone deserves a chance to create their own bond with Kingdom of Predators, and I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comment section. Okay, so when I try to analyze OSTs, I first like to familiarize myself with the context in which the piece presents itself, aka what is the story trying to tell us. During the Ant arc, it is clear that Togashi wants to break out of the common shonen trope of good fights evil. In fact, one of the main character developments in this saga is that of Meruem, the Ant King, realizing what it means to be human. On the other hand, we have Gon, the protagonist, losing all sense of humanity. And in the process, Togashi makes it very unclear who is in the wrong. I have discussed this in a previous video, which I've also linked down below, but this is the first key to unlocking the meaning behind Kingdom of Predators. Now let's recall the first variation, Elegy of the Dynast. Elegy being a poem written as a lament for the dead. This piece doesn't share any particular melodic traits with Kingdom of Predators, but it follows the pattern of Kingdom of Predators, starting with a very pensive, solemn melody, building into a louder and very cantankerous climax before quietly and begrudgingly fading off into the background. The first scene that pops into mind is Meruem bowing to Palm so she can tell him where Komugi is. And this is a very special moment in the anime. It is the first and the only time we see Meruem bowing to someone, showing a level of development and depth to his character that we could have only dreamed about when this arc started. There's also a sense of longing that also presents itself in this piece, almost as if questioning how things would have gone if Meruem actually did become the king of the world. Very fitting considering this piece is literally an elegy. After realizing what it means to care for life, could Meruem have actually been a kinder leader than those that are currently in a place of power in the Hunter x Hunter world? We may never know. And the second variation continues to build upon this question of who was truly human in this arc. Lamentoso in the Palace is a solo violin piece which is based on the same melody as Kingdom of Predators, but it invokes a much calmer and more lyrical quality. Of course, it plays during Poof's hilariously flamboyant show of emotions, and the potency of these emotional outbursts comes from the fact that we see Poof showing unwavering loyalty to the king. Loyalty being a very human construct, and Poof being a very chimera ant. Lastly, we have Restriction and Pledge, which, how can we possibly forget the scene where this plays? Well, okay, fine. If you did forget, it's when Netero is about to set off the poor man's rose. The first thing that ties this piece to Kingdom of Predators is the fast and chaotic violin scales that do a great job of increasing my blood pressure. And just like Kingdom of Predators, Restriction and Pledge also ends with a light and ominous piano solo despite its very definitive introductory melody. All this to say, Meruem's fate was sealed from the very beginning, and this piece is less a victory lap for humanity but more like a collective self-shame for what it's done. So we have now finally laid the groundwork to get into the meat of this piece, but it's getting kinda late here and this video is getting quite long. So I'll be putting the rest in a second video which will be coming out hopefully next week. Make sure you're subscribed so you can watch that video when it comes out, and in the meantime, if you like this video, I recommend you watch other meaning of music videos or other Hunter x Hunter videos on my channel, or really anything on my channel, and of course, leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it, and I would love to hear your thoughts on the piece